Hello everyone and welcome back to another top 5. So for today's video we're going to be talking about the 5 most spookiest coincidences in history. So for number 5 we have Two Finnish Brothers. This one is strange no matter what way it looks like. In 2002 a pair of 70-year-old identical twin brothers from Raahe, Finland were hit and killed by trucks while riding their bicycles in a snowstorm. The catch, they were killed in separate accidents on the same day along the same stretch of road, only about a mile apart. Additionally, as the second accident occurred just 2 hours after the first, the second brother hadn't even learned that his brother had been killed earlier, thereby eliminating suicide as a possible explanation, and making this truly one for the record books. Of course, unusual coincidences between identical twins are not unheard of. There are dozens of cases on the record of twins separated at birth reuniting years later to discover they possess similar mannerisms, food preferences, work at similar jobs, etc., and in one case even married and divorced spouses with the same name and then remarried another person also with the same name. So why not die the same way on the same day on the same road? Makes sense to me. Now for number 4. This one is an old story but worth recounting because it is so unusual. It revolves around an unusual number of coincidences that occurred between Presidents Kennedy and Lincoln in regards to their assassination. For example, both men were elected 100 years apart, Lincoln in 1860, Kennedy in 1960. They were both succeeded by Southerners named Johnson, and the two Johnsons were born 100 years apart, Andrew in 1808, Lyndon in 1908. Both assassins were born 100 years apart, Booth in 1839 and Oswald in 1939, and both died before they could be brought to trial. Lincoln was shot in a theater and his assassin was cornered in a warehouse, while Kennedy was shot from a warehouse and his assassin was captured in a theater. Finally, Lincoln was shot in Ford's theater, while Kennedy was shot while riding in a Ford Lincoln. And to top it all off, Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln, Evelyn Lincoln, while Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy. The list goes on from there and has been the source of considerable debate ever since. Of course, mathematicians have been quick to spoil all the fun by trying to show how all these things were bound to happen despite the long odds, which is why most people consider mathematicians poor party conversationists. Number 3. No, not John Wilkes and Abraham, Edwin and Robert. Turns out that a few months before John Wilkes Booth obtained notoriety for murdering the president at Ford's Theater, the president's son, Robert Todd Lincoln, was waiting on a narrow, crowded platform for a train in Jersey City, New Jersey, when he lost his footing and fell beneath the slowly moving carriage of a departing train. Pulled to safety before any harm befell him, he turned to thank his rescuer, and he was surprised to see it was the well-known actor Edwin Booth, the brother of John Wilkes, and what could only be considered one of the most remarkable coincidences in history. The son of a Lincoln's only surviving child had a knack for such coincidences, being present at the assassination of President Garfield in 1881. He was Garfield's secretary at war at the time, and an eyewitness to the event and of President McKinley in 1901. I suspect invitations to the White House led off a bit after that. Number 2. Though both men turned out to be bitter political rivals later in their careers, Jefferson was Adams' vice president until he went on to beat his own boss in the election of 1800. The two men did share their love for their country. As such, both men were instrumental in drafting the Declaration of Independence, which, as everyone knows, was first signed on July 4th, 1776. What most people don't know, however, is that both men were also to die on the same day, July 4th, 1826. Exactly 50 years to the day the document was first ratified. How's that for timing? So for number 1, I picked is the Titanic Vs The Titan, and what has to be considered one of the truly spooky coincidences of all time. In 1898, author Morgan Robertson, 1861 to 1915, wrote a novella entitled Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan, in which he outlined the voyage of a British luxury liner, HMS Titan, that hits an iceberg while crossing the northern Atlantic and sinks with a large loss of life, in part due to the lack of sufficient lifeboats on board. The similarities between the fictional story and the real-life loss of the luxury liner with very nearly the same name 14 years later was extraordinary. Both the fictional Titan and the real Titanic were triple-screw luxury ships about 800 feet long that hit an iceberg in the month of April while traveling at around 25 knots, resulting in the death of some 2,500 souls. While not identical in every detail, in Robertson's story, the Titan capsizes and sinks quickly, with the Titanic remained upright and sank slowly over the course of a couple hours. The similarities are nothing if not amazing. Evidence of precognition? Impossible to say, but something to think about next time you read a Tom Clancy's techno thriller. But that's all for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and have a safe and wonderful day.
Get it until the sunrise. Doing 90 in a 65.